Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Utku. I'm the publishing director at Rollic. I am in charge of game management and live operations. Today we have our invaluable partners with us. They're from very different backgrounds and they're going to answer my questions in about 3 to 4 minutes for every question. And it'll be about the business side of the Hypercasual and also the game management side, game creation and game ideation side. So bear with us. As I said, we're going to have 3 to 4 minutes for each question. I might have to stop you. So yeah, here we go. So can we have a brief introduction of you first? Hakan, can we start?
Sure. I'm Hakan, coming from Istanbul. I'm the co-founder of Ace Games. We are a hyper-casual gaming studio, and we are 7 months old. We don't have a hit yet. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, my name is Aras. I'm used to be a marketeer, so I spent early times of my career in L'Oreal and Unilever as a marketing guy. Then, like 7 years ago, I moved to games in Netmarble as the CEO of Netmarble EMEA region. And for the last 6 years, we've been I'm like a partner of MildMania, which is also a small studio from Ankara, doing like casual and mid-core games. And recently with Rollic, we started to do also like hyper-casual, which we will share as well. Yeah, it's about me.
Hello everyone, my name is Umut. I'm from Denizli, Turkey, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tiplay Studio. And we are also working with Rollic. We started as 3 people, now we are 13 people crew. We make hyper-casual games. Our first release was Water Shooty, and it became a hit. And we're looking for having more hits. So,
very nice, thank you. I will start now. So I want to start with you, Hakan.
Sure.
So you were one of the first investors in the industry, as far as we know. And back then, when there was no gaming industry, no gaming investors, and as far as I remember, there were just like Facebook gaming and farm wheels and etc.
Yeah.
What was your motivation in the beginning of like founding a mid-core, maybe a sort of a social gaming company?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back in 2010, the first company I co-founded was Peak Games, the famous company. By the way, I exited in 2014. Some regrets there. As you know, like Zynga was doing Farmville, and my grandmother was playing Farmville in English, and she doesn't speak English, so there was a huge potential there. We started by acquiring a board game. You know, board games were sold to Zynga again like 2 years ago, and then we licensed an American farm game in Turkish and Middle East area, and I think it was the first game licensing publishing back then, and it went very well. But we didn't have neither Toon Blast nor Toy Blast back then. Otherwise, I wouldn't exit. And as I said, like I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a gamer, actually. Sorry, but there's a huge potential, and when there's a potential, you can build a good team, and you can get investment. Then it makes sense, and it was one of the reasons why we got into Peak. And there were not really that much mobile games back then. Even Candy Crush, as you know, it was launched in 2012, I think, and I was using a BlackBerry. But now it's different. Like I'll get back to that.
Yeah, well, I want to cut you there with a follow-up question. Like the Toon Blast is now a huge deal, and don't you like brag about it? Like I was the founder of it, and this was all because of it.
I mean, I don't want to take the credit there, but we have a great CEO who was my co-founder, and after Peak, I co-founded 20 plus more other tech internet companies. Yeah. So, I mean, I shouldn't take the credit there, but of course, I'm very proud of being one of the co-founders of Peak.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to move on with you, Aras. You were in the midst of producing very good casual and mid-core game titles, but now changing its direction into hyper-casual. So we're very curious about the motivation behind this, actually.
Well, to be honest, in order to understand that, we should look at the bigger picture of advertising, to be honest. And I think like recently, like in 2019, we saw a growth in like every $1 that we spend on marketing, like, you know, regular FMCG companies or telcos or whatever, almost like 74 cents per dollar is going to gaming advertising. Like 3-4 years ago, it was close to like 0.1. Now it grew, and last year we saw like staggering 20% growth, and it means that like all the companies understood the value of in-game engagement-based advertising materials. So that created a huge business. We know that like mobile gaming is almost like $80 billion right now, and all the other gaming platforms combining like PC or PlayStation, whatever is console, is making around like 40-45. So it means that apart from the in-app purchase, this is like becoming even much bigger. So it's like an obvious choice for many gaming companies who are trying to, or like struggling to be a part of like a larger core gaming business. Because in Netmarble, all I did was like, you know, core games, which is like you have to spend like 50 hours per month for a single game and spend a lot of money. And this is like the complete opposite, where you can like, you know, get your mind out of like lots of stress or stuff like that, which is meant to be the meaning of the gaming in many senses. So between hyper-casual and core, I mean casual or core gaming, I see that the potential of this hyper-casual is like for us as well was the main growing thing moving forward compared to core games or in-app purchase stuff. You know, before there was like premium games, then there were no premium games, free-to-play games only. Now we have hyper-casual. It's only going to grow because the bigger advertisers will going to keep on advertising in this engaging formats, you know, full pages, playable ads or whatever, which is like they're just exploring them. So for us as well, it was easier to make the switch.
I want to make a very quick follow-up. Then what do you think about the production costs and production times, and that is also a very, very important aspect of the...
Well, to be honest, like every game that we created in core gaming was $5 million plus, and at this 8 to 12 months development process with more than like 50-60 people each studio. So right now we know that, for example, a game like PUBG Mobile, which is like rocking the world, is like has a studio of 600 people in China just for Chinese build, and another 450 people for the global build. So when you look at that, it's becoming more and more difficult for like smaller studios to enter that market or like try to like do something, because now the Apple Store and Google Store lost their featuring power. Back in the day, when you get featured, you were getting like millions of downloads. Now it's much narrower. So meaning that we need that. So in terms of capacity of producing, that's kind of like fast games, game mechanics. Now we can experiment on maybe like 10 different game mechanics and try to figure out which one is the best with you guys. Like independently, a studio couldn't be able to do that, but now we can thanks to you guys. So it's kind of like a two-team thing going on here. You need the development, you need the publishing, but in core gaming you need one guy only. He can publish, he can develop, and at least buy the company. So that's what I think.
Some developers find the one very exciting, some find the other, but So I want to move on with you, Umut.
Sure.
So you have rocked the top charts with Water Shooty. It was top chart number 2. Can you just explain the process of building the Water Shooty from scratch?
Sure.
Because there was a lot going on there.
Yep. Of course, it was very interesting for us because the idea didn't come from my team, which is very interesting. The idea actually came from Burak, the co-founder of Rollic. And at the time, we were working on a prototype. It was our first prototype, and they liked the idea. Rollic. We just started our relationship back then, and then they invited us to Istanbul. We worked on the idea for a day. It was all ready. We were just ready to move forward with it. And the second day we had another meeting in the morning, and after the meeting, Burak came to me and said, which was very interesting, I still find it very interesting. He said, "Can I curse?" I think I can. He's like, fuck it, let's do this. I'm like, what? I have an idea, let's do this. I'm like, all right. And then we just trashed everything. We killed the idea. Didn't kill it, it's still in the freezer. But we started the idea which became water shooting. In about a day, like that day, we actually created the prototype, which was basically blocks shooting smaller blocks to another block. So, but it gave the, feeling. You understood the gameplay, it felt right. And then after that, we put, a stickman, and then the rest just happened like magic. In about a few weeks, I think it was 2 weeks, it was ready, the core game was there. It was hard for us to do the balancing and polishing. That was the biggest challenge we had. Because that was the first game we did in Hypercasual vertical. But we learned, and Rollic helped us a lot. We spent a lot of time in Istanbul. Again, Istanbul and Denizli, for the ones who don't know these two cities, it's not very close, but it's an hour flight. So we traveled a lot, and at the end it worked. So that was the basic rundown of what happened.
Perfect. It's very nice that he cursed. He does that pretty well.
Yep.
Okay. I want to move on with you again, Hakan.
Sure.
Sort of a similar question with Aras, but again, with your background, you also entered hypercasual gaming. You have an investment right now, which in itself you're also a managing director. What was your motivation?
Actually, as I told, I have invested in like more than 20 companies in internet and tech, and the reason why I picked tech companies is you see the results very fast, and either it's good or bad, you see the results.
It's only result based, only revenue based.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hypercasual is hyper fast,
Yeah.
so it really matched my character, I think, and we saw very good success stories from Turkey, as you know, Grams, 1010, and then Rise Up, maybe, and those are all in our ecosystem, and we also have great publishers now, namely Rollic in Turkey. So, and we have, I think, one of the biggest superiorities in Turkey is the talent pool. We have great developers, good designers, and I think they are relatively less expensive compared to other countries, but then we compete in the same market thanks to our publishers. So I thought it was a good time to get into hypercasual, and what I do good is like creating teams, creating the culture, and we did it really fast. Now we are seeding the prototypes, and hopefully
they'll grow. They'll grow soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll move on with yours. So, what do you think about? I mean, you have a very broad perspective of gaming. I mean, from all kinds of mid-core to casual to hyper-casual now. What do you think about the future of publishers, and what stands out as a publisher characteristic? I mean, what differentiates for you a better publisher and a, let's say, a worse publisher for you?
Well, I did publishing for like almost 7 years back in Netmarble. So we published many different type of games, like you said. And I think like where we struggled most, now I'm on the other side of the table. So I'm looking for the same thing as well. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? The most important thing was always the trust. Because like most of the smaller companies who are looking for a publisher is lacking trust, because you should be able to give a certain, maybe a big chunk of your revenue to someone who will represent you, your name, your product on this like global market that you will never dream of reaching, right? So in one way, you need to take this publisher as a big brother to you. So they should be able to like take care of you, let you create freely, and at the same time they should be able to like let you know to learn about your mistakes, so you can make mistakes and you can get on board as soon as possible because, like Hakan said, this is like super fast business. I mean, gaming was already fast, but hyper-casual is like much faster.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were killing a lot of games in Netmarble, but like here is like killing games, like it's like out of this world. So the adjustment period, you need to adjust, and I think like publisher needs to take care of those strings very well. Like the trust part, you know, the know-how transfer, because the know-how, since this is like a young segment of you know, the gaming, building really fast. So you need to change the know-how and like transfer it to the developer, which in this part I am the developer, so I need to learn about those really fast so that I can make a product. Which is also, in my opinion, like very tough for like, you know, non-hyper-casual studios like us, because like we are driving Burak crazy, we are driving you crazy, because like you are looking for like, you know, like prototype with like, you know, stick mans. We are doing a full-fledged prototype with like finished product and even polishing it on the way as well.
We'll talk about that after the panel.
But it takes time, so right, we have to trust you, because we don't trust that it's going to work without doing this, because we were blind on this. So when you say gaming, you think that like, you know, gaming, that like, okay, say you are entrepreneur, I'm not, so I'm gamer. So for me, gaming sounds like it's the same all around the genres, but it's not, right? It's very different from each other. So for hyper-casual, I think like the publisher is more important than a core game. Because it's changed so fast. So that's my idea. Like, should a publisher be demanding, you think? I think like they should be more demanding than a core studio, because the developer should adjust. For example, in core games, when you interrupt the developer too much, then you can lose the creativity, right? Because you are building a product that is like gonna take a year. So if you interrupt too much, then you may lose the sense of creating the core dynamics of this RPG game, or like, you know, because it doesn't change that quickly. But in hyper-casual, since it changed too quickly, and the developer is not gonna be able to learn or hear what's happening outside or the consumer side, then you're gonna lose it. Same for the, you know, advertising parts as well. Like we need to know, we don't know anything about how advertisers want to engage through hyper-casuals. So again, we have to learn, you have to teach us, interrupt more. But we have to be open to be interrupted anyway.
Yeah, this has been a question in everybody's mind. I mean, people say lately that the sector is like changing its direction into, that's what they call like publisher sector, not the gaming sector, because the publishers like taking the game, like transferring it into a better monetization and like killing the creativity. So people say, but some agree, some disagree. What do you say?
I kind of like agree to disagree, because like this is something that is not set on stone in my mind. Well, when you look at, for example, like, you know, some publishers, it's pretty difficult to like bend them. To let them let's say believe in what you believe. So, and I think they shouldn't as well in some manner. So I kind of like agree to disagree on that part, to be honest.
Thank you. So I want to move on with you. So there has been an organization community called Noho. That's a game capital partnering with Rollic. So what was the motivation behind building this community, and what do you expect of gathering together promising studios and like founding them under your roof?
Sure, let me explain what it is first, and then I'm going to answer your question. So we are creating an accelerator program called OFON, Oyun Fonu, along with Rollic. And this is an ecosystem financing new game studios in Turkey. And the reason that we are doing it is because there are two channels of growth for us. First channel is, you know, like hiring people, making better games, working with you guys, releasing new hits, etc. And the second channel is creating an ecosystem where we plant seeds and they become trees, so that we can collect some fruits and share them, because we believe in the power of 1 + 1 = 3 when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to anything actually that has to do with business. And I don't like the idea of, for example, thousands of people from Turkey sending games to dashboards and just waiting for a response just to see that they are rejected for, I don't know, like 26 cents.
Yeah.
It's a hard no, and there should be a gray ground, there should be coaching, there should be, guidance, and we're going to provide all that to make those people, I call them game entrepreneurs. It's not game developer, it's game entrepreneur, because it's not just about CPI, it's not just about KPIs, it's not just about, Unity, whatever. It's more than that, and we're going to provide all those hopefully. In a few years, I'm pretty sure that I believe that we're going to see more and more companies from all over Turkey, not just Ankara, Istanbul, Izmir, Denizli, and a lot of more cities.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
So, Hakan, last questions. I believe we have more time. So, yes, you're an entrepreneur, you're an investor, you're looking for the revenues, the outcomes, but we see you very intact with your studios, and we see you like managing your studios and also investing your studios. You're very hands-on with the studio, very hands-on with developers and artists. Why do you do that, and how do you do that first? And secondly, what do you expect from your developers, and what do you expect from your publisher, let's say?
Okay. So, they call me serial entrepreneur, and I don't recommend, and I'm not sure if I chose the right path, but that's me. So whenever I see an opportunity, and whenever I see that I can build a team and I can create the culture, then I'm like, why not? Why we are not moving? Then I do it. But like recently, I read this book about it's Gary Keller's One Thing, the book called One Thing, and it's telling that you have to prioritize and focus on one thing at a time. And I'm trying to focus more on one thing right now, and which is our Hypercasual studio, thankfully. And so I'm a workaholic, and I like getting results, and thankfully my wife is very understanding about that. So I get up like 7 in the morning, and I go to bed like 1, and it's full of like working and managing. But as I said, like it's right now I'm trying to focus more on one thing, and like what I'm expecting from developers is we have a good relationship with our publisher, and like they are, as Aras said, like their demands are very critical and very valuable for us. So I think the most important thing is like getting on the same page, like because developers are from another world, I think. So it's really hard to understand them, it's really hard to motivate them, and sometimes you have a picture in your mind and you tell the developer, and the next day something like very different comes to you. So we are trying to get on the same page with them, and we are doing some extraordinary stuff to motivate and like I'm a very strict manager, but with the developers you can't be like that. So they come to because like the guy goes to bed like 5 in the morning, and you can't expect him to come 9 in the morning. So what? Then if he comes late, the designer says, "Why am I coming here?" So it's I think a balance, and like being a team is like managing this, and so I'm very hopeful about 2020, and we'll do a good job with Rollic.
I hope so. So Aras, my final question, again, trying to get use of your vision and experience. So this question has been in everybody's mind. I mean, where is Hypercasual going? Like people are saying, this game has 3 months of lifetime, this game has 6 months of lifetime, or this game has 1 month of lifetime. Hypercasual has 9 months lifetime and stuff. So what do you think about this?
Well, to be honest, like I thought about this question. You asked me like a week ago or more. So this is a tough question.
I know.
In my mind, I want to like approach this question like that. I think that the purchasing power of people who play games are always misunderstood, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the hard numbers, you see that the ARPPU in Asia is like huge, is like almost like double of what we are having in Western countries. And at the same time, we know that the age group of mobile phone owners are growing, right? So the penetration is growing, so meaning that it's not like that these people doesn't have purchase power anymore. Especially the youth is coming with a purchase power, and that group is gonna like grow this business more. So where are they gonna direct their purchasing power? Probably to a couple of things that we never thought before. Like we always thought that, okay, number one game, number two game, number three game of the top charts are always like hardcore games, right?
Yeah.
But now we see that the advertising revenue is like mixing these charts a lot. So we think that it's like PUBG Mobile, let's say, number one into 2019, but we don't know how much money a Hypercasual game did. So maybe it's something that we should gonna like start measuring correctly, and then it's gonna be something that bigger core companies will also start to focus. We see this example in several Asian companies now. They are looking hard on how they can tackle Hypercasual, and they have like different missed opportunities and like trying to do it with like a core studio. And we know that core studio doesn't work on Hypercasual or casual studio cannot do like it's. There are few examples like the King trying to make Call of Duty mobile, but then Tencent finishing the Call of Duty mobile. That kind of thing. The meaning that Hypercasual is gonna get much bigger, in my opinion, in the next 3 years. So maybe it's gonna be like the number one, not just in terms of downloads. Right now it's only number one in downloads.
Yeah.
But it's gonna probably be number one in terms of like revenue, probably. Not by spending hours spent, probably. It's gonna still be core games. But I think revenue-wise, combining, it's gonna probably include in-app purchase in some way, becoming like hybrid games. In that sense, probably, because this is what we see. There's always hybrids coming up and like taking market share. So probably, in my opinion, it's gonna be on a like hybrid Hypercasual with more, maybe that kind of like growth. But it's gonna only grow because like big guys still didn't tackle it yet.
Yeah.
It's just about us right now, smaller studios.
Exactly.
Like, getting bigger and so on. That's my humble idea.
Oh, it's striking insight. Thank you. So, final question.
Sure.
And I think it's in every studio's mind that what happens to a studio after it publishes a game. So I think there are already studios here that hasn't published any games, and I think this question is super important for them. So before and after water shooting, go.
Sure. So before water shooting, it was chaos. Like long story short, and after water shooting, we are more structured. In a nutshell. So let me kind of elaborate this. First, we had an idea of growth channels. So as I explained, we started to invest in the ecosystem almost immediately. Like I think I started talking to Burak about Ophon. Back then it was another name. Right in the middle of September, which is the date that we released the game, because we immediately realize that, okay, this is going to be big, what next? And it's other developers, it's relationships, strategic partnerships, etc. So that was the first thing. The second thing is we invested in our infrastructure, meaning that we started to use better tools for project management. We started to have more people involved in different aspects of development, including QA. QA was the biggest change in our production pipeline, for example. So we started to invest more in terms of time, money, and energy. And I think the third biggest change is the milestones. So immediately, because you see numbers, it's very straightforward. Okay, you release a game, it creates this much revenue, and it creates this many opportunities. So you're there to decide what to do with it. What happens if another game hits it? What happens if 5 more games hits it? So you have to kind of see 1 month, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. You gotta do that. So we quickly realized as tiplay studio that we needed a campus So infrastructure becomes like serious facilities, technology, data, insight, and we start working with Rollic about that as well. So hopefully in 2021, we're going to have a campus in Denizli with Studio A, B, C, D, E, F, hopefully more, and a co-working space for OFON, where hopefully more than 100 people gather around and work to create not just hyper-casual games, but and not just mobile games, but I don't know, maybe Steam games, maybe VR. We'll see then, but. This is the biggest change. So it's a shift of mindset, I would say.
Well, that's a very good answer. Thank you.
Cheers.
I think answers a lot of questions in minds. So this is it for us.
Thank you.
We can have questions. Can we have questions?
Yeah, we've got a couple of quickies, hopefully. So, are there any quick questions that we can find? Who wants to ask a question? So I will. I think interesting for me is that we mentioned Turkey a lot. I think it's interesting how so many Turkish companies have been at the forefront of where hypercasuals come from. Why is that? What is it? What's special about Turkey that makes that happen?
Okay, I think we all have answers to that question.
Well, I still feel like there's more there. Yeah.
I mean, like we are like a country that has lots of issues, right? So the youth is like 25 million people, like 30 million youth is in Turkey. So it's like 1/3 of the country, and these guys need something to stick and like make it happen. And I think like games has always been a way of expressing Turkish youth. And Hypercasual just gave the window of opportunity in terms of development time and smaller teams executing great stuff. Back then it wasn't possible. Like we had Burak, we did Monochroma, for example, but they all demanded like bigger teams, bigger times, bigger finances. Right now that's why we are like skyrocketing or like spearheading this.
Well, where I was going with that is not. I think I agree with all of that. I think that all makes sense. But I think there's also something about the geographical position, particularly the access to the MENA market, which Western audiences have ignored. Is that fair?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about this question also. Why? Because it's not proportional. The amount of impact and
and particularly hypercasual.
Exactly. And shorter production times. And there's something very interesting about Turkey. There's 3.7 million university students in Turkey. There's about 80 million people, the country. Same population as Germany. And in Germany there are 1.7 million university students. Maybe 10 times bigger economy, I don't know. But there's a mismatch there. There are a lot of university students or people who are trying to start something, a career, and somehow Hypercasual started and it gave them a very quick, very low barrier of entry to a hugely growing economy. And another thing is, I think I can say this. I lived like 10 years in the United States and 1 year in Norway. I don't know why, but the percentage of technically developed people is slightly more in Turkey for some reason. I don't know why. So
Finland has a similar quality.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in my opinion, anyway. The reason I raise this is because it's something that's come up in the Pocket Gamer in Jordan as well, where we see that this low barrier to entry to be able to create, real value, entrepreneurship. Games is a perfect kind of medium to that because you need a PC and access to the internet. And I think that's a phenomenal thing. So I think all of these things are true, but I think what's interesting is that we are still seeing this evolving, and it's not going anywhere. So thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it.